Hello, and welcome to POMA Does, a podcast produced by the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. We provide a voice for osteopathic medicine and share insights on issues important to osteopathic physicians, residents, and students, as well as those who embrace the osteopathic philosophy. POMA's mission is to promote the distinctive philosophy and practice of osteopathic medicine for our patients, our members, and the communities we serve. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, and welcome to this edition of POMA Does podcast produced by the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. My name is Dr. John Kalata. I'm an osteopathic family physician, and I'm current president of the Pennsylvania Osteopathic Medical Association. Today, we're joined by Dr. Jeffery Dunkelberger. He's an osteopathic family physician as well. He is practicing in Enola, Pennsylvania, and he is the speaker of our House of Delegates for POMA. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks, John. It's really great to see you again.
Tonight, we want to talk about some of the function of POMA with regard to our governance, specifically our House of Delegates, our representation to the AOA House of Delegates, and then just a word about the elections to our Board of Trustees. Jeff, can you speak first on the election process and who we're going to elect this year?
Sure, John. This year, we'll elect the officers of the POMA, which we do every year. Each one of those is a one-year position: president, president-elect, vice president. The treasurer will also be elected at this House of Delegates. Treasurer is not essentially a one-year position because of the amount of knowledge that's needed, and that's something that needs to be ongoing. Then this year, we are nominating and electing trustees at large to the House of Delegates. That's a group of DOs who have a passion for the DO profession and DOs in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania who want to serve on the Board of Trustees to help make decisions and do the things that are needed to be done to keep relevant and keep DOs at the forefront of healthcare in the Commonwealth.
So that's because it's an even year. On even years, we elect, I think, 7 trustees at large.
7 trustees at large on the even years. And then on the odd year, the districts nominate and the Board of Trustees then elects delegates from each one of the districts.
That's great. So tell us for a minute about the process, Jeff. This election occurs at our House of Delegates in May, correct?
Yeah. What will happen is nominations will come from the various districts. So let's talk a little bit about the House of Delegates. The House of Delegates is the legislative body of the POMA. We elect officials, we manage and maintain the bylaws of the organization, we approve budgets, we also take policy positions. That could be legislative policy positions, or that could be public health policy positions, and we talk about those, we debate them, and we vote on them, and they become the policies of the POMA. So as part of the election process, and the representation at the House of Delegates is from the districts. It's a district-driven organization. So each district, based on the number of DOs that they have that are members of the POMA, send representatives to the House of Delegates during the clinical assembly at this year will be up at Kalahari Resort again. And from the districts, they will nominate people to serve as trustees at large. Again, each district gets a trustee to come onto the board, but then the additional seats are filled by trustees at large, and they could be from any district. There could be 2 of them from District 8 and maybe none from District 5. It's really who are going to be the people who are going to serve POMA and the DOs of Pennsylvania the best. So then they're nominated by their district, and the nomination slate goes forward, and the elections happen the following day because nominations need to stay open for a certain time period as dictated by our bylaws. And those people are then welcomed. And after following that meeting, we have the first board meeting, and they're brought in and sworn in as members of the Board of Trustees.
That's great. So each of the districts in the state, there's 13 of them. They're geographically based. They will then elect members to the House of Delegates, to the POMA House of Delegates, and then members of that House of Delegates then will elect trustees to the board then.
Yeah, you made it so succinct, and I just kind of ramble on. Thanks, John.
That's okay. I've been president now for about 8 months. And we have just a wonderful association, but we also have wonderful leadership. But much of the work of the association occurs at the grassroots level, at the Board of Trustees, at the various committees, at the various task forces and such. Could you tell us a little bit about the duties? Let's start out with the districts, I think, have a responsibility to really bring forward trustees or names of people who are engaged. Can you just talk about what you might recommend to a district chair or members of a district who want to bring someone forward?
Sure. You hit on the key aspect to being on the board of trustees, and that's wanting to be engaged, to want to come to the meetings, bring your opinion, bring the opinions of people you've spoken to in your district, and be ready to talk about that opinion and talk about what is going to be important for the rural districts as much as for the urban districts. The engagement is the key. So as a district chairperson or as a district vice chair, you need to look for and identify people who, number one, have a passion for being a DO in the state of Pennsylvania and have a passion to want to make the lives of DOs in Pennsylvania better. I can't tell you that there's a test that you can give that will identify those people, but we've all been around our colleagues long enough to know who are the ones that are going to want to make a difference and who are the ones who are going to be committed to bringing a position forward and being engaged and staying engaged.
That's really great advice. I have found that my board particularly, there are some just wonderful board members, both members who are district trustees and then the members at large. They do a wonderful job. They do a nice job. And I would just echo what you said and encourage our district chairs and our members in each district to bring people forward, suggest people, nominate people who are going to be engaged and who are going to represent them and our osteopathic brethren in the state, committed now for years when they get elected. So that's wonderful.
I think it's also important, John, that the district chairs and the districts themselves, when they have their district meetings and their elections, don't be afraid to make a change. If that person isn't making it to the Board of Trustees meeting, something may have changed in their lives. They may need you to come to them and say, hey, listen, I understand that your situation has changed and you're not ready to do the things that need to be done. How about if we put someone else in that position and give them an opportunity to lead and work with the state? I think that we can't only look for the ones who are potentially the best leaders, but we have to be ready to say, thanks for your service, thanks for what you've done, but how about we make a change?
That's great. There's some days at some of our meetings when I look around the room, I'm very excited and proud to see that there are some new faces who want to get involved, who get engaged, and they really step up and they really surprise us sometimes at their level of engagement, the ideas that they bring forward. Some of the best things that have come out of some of the committees in my presidency year have come from just some newer members and some newer leaders. So I think our future is bright.
Yeah, bringing that perspective, bringing a different perspective in is what an organization like this needs, because medicine's changing. The way that we train doctors is changing. The way that the schools train doctors is changing, and we need to be ready to change with that to stay viable and to stay relevant.
Absolutely. And really, POMA is the organization that advocates and fights for DOs in our state. It's really the only organization that has that as our sole function.
And it's been fun doing it.
No doubt. Before we go, I just want to talk a little bit about how our state organization is represented at the AOA level and how the districts need to bring forth people to the AOA House that occurs in July to further advance our profession as a whole. Can you speak to that for a second?
POMA is a microcosm of what's done in Chicago with the AOA. We actually try to mirror what is done there from a procedural standpoint as closely as we can. So the folks that are going to be going out to Chicago and representing at the AOA House, they kind of have an understanding of what to look for, obviously on a much bigger scale when you were in Chicago, but still, again, we try to run it as closely to that as we can. So the way that the POMA selects folks to go out to the AOA, again, this is at a district level. The districts are allotted a certain number of our delegation based on the number of DOs who are POMA members. That's how we fill the delegation. We take delegates as assigned, and then we take one alternate delegate to replace the delegate should it need to be done. And all delegate members of the POMA and the first alternate delegate of the delegation support you going out there. We support your travel. We support your stay out there. But I have to tell you that you're going to work while you're out there. It's not just a trip to Chicago. You'll get to see the sites. You'll get to see the Bean and you'll get to see Navy Pier, but you're going to also be working. Now you've gone from working on what's important for the state of Pennsylvania and DOs to working on what's good for DOs nationally, always with the idea that, is this what's best for Pennsylvania in the back of your mind? So we select the delegates from the districts. The delegates then go out to the House. There is work to be done at the House in Chicago, but then we get together and we have good times and we do things together. But you have to be prepared to work and you have to be ready to give your opinion, because we don't want you to just come out and sit at the table. We want you to be part of the discussion.
Yeah. Every once in a while, there's some very weighty policies that need to be discussed. And I have to say that Pennsylvania really represents our physicians and our patients very well. In my experience, that Pennsylvania is a strong delegation and we hope to keep it that way.
Well, we're the second largest delegation at the House, and there have been times when we've been the largest, but right now we're the second largest delegation at the AOA House of Delegates, and our opinion matters. And it's important that we do what's number one, what's best for the osteopathic physicians in the country, but also what's important for the osteopathic physicians in Pennsylvania. We can't forget that we have that obligation too.
That's great. I think the one thing I'd like to encourage any of our listeners who are interested in serving as a delegate to the POMA House or to the AOA House, or even as a trustee at large, to make yourself available and make your intentions and your wishes known to your district chairs and to leadership. I think that's one way. Sometimes there's talent out there that just doesn't know how to proceed. And I would encourage anybody who has an interest to please reach out to any of us and to your district chairs and to get engaged, because we need everybody. We need you.
And if you don't know who your district chair is, call the POMA Central Office. They'll let you know.
Absolutely. I guess the last piece I want to ask you, Jeff, is if you had one piece of advice or one piece of encouragement to a physician who is aspiring to one of our leadership positions, what would you tell that person?
Get involved. You'll be surprised at how easy it is to get involved and make yourself known just by being there and giving an opinion. No opinion is wrong. Your opinion is representative of not only you, but the people you've been talking to all along in your hospitals and in your offices and in your clinics and in social events. So your opinion is going to be important. But the first step you have to make is you have to get involved. Without your involvement, we can't know that you're someone who wants to be part of this.
That's great. Well, Jeff, thanks so much for being part of this today. I think that we brought a lot of light to the subject and hopefully some understanding about what's involved with becoming a delegate, becoming a member of the Board of Trustees, and thankful for your leadership as Speaker of the House. I know sometimes that period of time where Kalahari is a busy time for all of us, but we have a lot of fun too. And I'd encourage all of you, even if you're not a member of the House, to come to Kalahari to our annual clinical assembly. It's a great time.
Bring a bathing suit.
Bring your bathing suit. Bring your bathing suit. So with that, thanks so much for listening to another of our podcast series, POMA Does. Have a good night, everybody, and stay safe.
See ya.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of POMA Does. Be sure to subscribe to POMA Does wherever you listen to your podcasts, and tell your friends and colleagues to tune in. Learn more about osteopathic medicine and POMA on our webpage, www.poma.org, and join the conversation on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Or email us at poma@poma.org. We'd love to hear from you. Join us next time for another edition of POMA Does.